Today, we are talking about a difficult question. If your son, your granddaughter, or the neighbor's child were locked in a metal container with no water, no light, would you dare to go look for them? Last month in Burkina Faso, a message appeared on President Ibrahim Traoré's screen. Inside, there was only one line of warning. They will disappear within 48 hours, leaving no trace. The sender didn't sign it, but the attached location pointed to a warehouse on the border between Burkina Faso and Mali. According to satellite data, it showed the body heat of hundreds of people. We are not talking about weapons trafficking. We are not talking about drugs. This is about human beings. Infants were drugged. Pregnant women were numbered. 7-year-old children were locked up like cargo, ready to be transported across continents. Within 48 hours, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a 36-year-old artillery officer, directed the most dangerous operation of his life. The objective: to dismantle a human and organ trafficking network worth over $150 million, stretching from Burkina Faso to the Mediterranean. If he failed, 800 people would never return. And if he succeeded, light would be shed on a secret the entire continent had long been too afraid to name. First, this is not just the story of one country. Second, this is not the first time human lives have been priced in euros and silenced. And finally, there was one thing Traoré understood very clearly. We cannot build the future if children are being sold today. You are listening to a true story, a campaign with no caped heroes, only soldiers, tears, encrypted data, and a president who did not back down. If you ever believed Africa only needed aid, listen closely. If you ever thought these things only happen somewhere else, be prepared. And if you still believe in human dignity, no matter where someone is born, let this story remind you of one thing. No one has the right to sell a human life. No one. By the end of this segment, we will understand what made Traoré say, "I don't need torture. I just need time. Do not leave." In the next segment, I will recount the moment the Special Forces discovered the first container, and a little girl reached out, trembling, and said, "Don't let them take me again." When Traoré read the warning message, he asked no further questions, no press calls, no cabinet meetings. He issued only 3 orders. Lock all data, trust no one, move immediately under the cover of night. At 2:47, an armored convoy left the capital, Ouagadougou, heading toward the border region with Mali, on the map. It was just a 2-story industrial warehouse with no signage. But the satellite heat imagery showed something different. People inside. Too many to be workers. Too covert to be legitimate cargo. The Special Forces split into 3 units. 2 outer circles. 1 central strike team. No breaking doors. No noise. They used hydraulic cutters to open each lock like opening a coffin lid. And then, the first door swung open. Not cargo, not building materials, but human beings. Real people. Grayish skin. Eyes wide but unfocused. Limbs entwined. A little girl clutched her younger brother, trying to keep him warm with her own tiny body. An elderly man had his hands tied with nylon straps. A young pregnant woman trembled, calling someone's name in a daze. The smell of blood, sweat, and long-suppressed panic filled the air. No shouting, only heavy breathing, dry coughs, and eyes. Eyes that asked, "Are you really here to save us?" A soldier gave a quick report. 9 containers, all occupied. Medical emergencies. Dehydration, exhaustion, infections. 1 boy was unresponsive. An elderly woman lay unconscious on a pile of tattered blankets. A mother sat collapsed, unable to stand, still holding her child, even in unconsciousness. When the military medic examined the injuries, they noticed something unusual. Some children had unhealed surgical wounds on their backs. Circular bruises on wrists and ankles, marks from industrial zip ties. A few had barcodes on their wrists, a QR code still stuck with glue on one shoulder. This was not just human trafficking. This was a system. As the rescue proceeded, a gunshot rang out, followed by automatic fire. Guards on the eastern side were ambushed. The attackers were dressed in black, masked, using night vision scopes. No words, no shouting, no negotiation. Their objective was not to defeat the army, but to disrupt the rescue, to buy time, and if possible, destroy living evidence. Captain Traoré gave a firm order. No retreat, encircle, push them back out. The firefight lasted 4 minutes. One soldier was hit in the thigh, another grazed on the arm. But the perimeter held. 3 attackers were killed, 2 captured alive. One carried a signaling device, not local, manufactured in Europe, military-grade model. The question arose: who supplied them with this equipment, and who in the government knew this was happening? Back inside, the victims were evacuated, a total of 172 people, 49 children, 72 women, 51 men, 19 children under 5 years old. Many could not speak, could not remember where they came from. Only their eyes, still their eyes, told the story. One little girl, as she was brought out of the last container, grabbed Traoré's hand and asked, "Uncle, if I'm captured again, who will save me next time?" He did not answer immediately. He only bent down, nodded, and whispered, "It will not happen again." Less than 5 hours after the first raid, another convoy of Burkina Faso's military quietly crossed the eastern scrubland, about 70 kilometers from the Mali border. Drone intelligence showed a convoy moving at night, with no headlights, heading north. No warning was needed. Captain Traoré understood. One of the key figures was trying to escape. Could be the commander, could be the financier. He spoke briefly over the radio. "Do not shoot unless necessary. I want the ringleader alive." The Special Forces convoy closed in. The first shot targeted the lead vehicle's tires. The pickup truck flipped sideways, crashing into an embankment. The door opened. A tall man in a dark jacket stepped out. No running, no shouting, just staring straight at Captain Traoré. "You're late," he said, in flawless, Swiss-accented French. Traoré did not draw his gun. He replied, "But you're finished." The man had no record in any database, but the briefcase he carried contained 2 encrypted biometric drives. One labeled South Route, the other marked Client Ledger. Inside an accompanying envelope was a handwritten code and a name underlined twice. Guarde Alumbra, the gatekeeper. This man had once been a security advisor in Spain. Disappeared in 2018, suspected of working for private military organizations in Côte d'Ivoire and Syria. Now, he controlled the financial chain funneling money into human trafficking across the Sahel. Traoré asked, "How long have you been doing this?" Alumbra only smiled. "You have the drives, but not the keys." Traoré studied him for a moment, then said, "I don't need torture. I need time." A young engineer from the intelligence unit sat in the corner of the operations room, focused. While others worried the drives might be remotely erased, he whispered, "I've copied all the signals. We're not intercepting. We're replicating." In the hands of the Special Forces were lists of transactions, bank codes, government IDs, and receiving accounts in Panama. A map appeared. The financial network stretched from Burkina Faso to Cyprus, then to the UAE. Shell company names, IP addresses, payment recipients, clients. Suddenly, an alert chimed from the server. One drive had activated its remote wipe protocol. 40% was lost, but the copy remained. Captain Traoré whispered, "The gatekeeper thinks he's a ghost, but even shadows leave footprints." as the drive's images were transmitted to the data center in Ghana and Interpol. Something changed. This was no longer a secret operation. This was an act of public international prosecution. That very night, the government of Ghana convened a security session. Senegal demanded that the EU respond regarding companies registered in Malta. An Israeli engineering team came under investigation for biometric tracking devices implanted in children. And for the first time in many years, an African head of state dared to declare, "We don't need anyone to rescue us. We are saving our own conscience." The next morning, the sky over Ouagadougou was gray, but the central office of the Rapid Response Force was brightly lit. Under LED lights, the data drives were being replicated, outside, in the containers. Survivors received emergency medical care. However, the operation was far from over. What the data revealed prompted Traoré to issue immediate action orders within the next 24 hours. Operation Falcon expanded to 5 locations, stretching from northern Dori down to the Golden City of Gawa. In Dori, the Special Forces raided an intercity bus terminal that looked ordinary on the outside. But beneath the ticket counter, they discovered a locked room containing over 70 forged IDs, some bearing the names of infants born just 3 months earlier in the town of Kaya. One of them bore a stamp from Togo. In Koudougou, a house disguised as a clinic was found. Beds neatly arranged, nutrition charts on the walls. But there were no doctors, only armed guards and a computer. On the hard drive were client interview videos from Dubai and Istanbul, asking about weight, blood type, life expectancy of the sellers. A facility in Gawa was disguised as an abandoned factory. In the basement, 19 people were found, most unconscious. One boy matched a missing persons report from UNICEF last year. Most of them had medical tracking chips, manufactured by a tech company in Tel Aviv. In the capital, a logistics office called Amani was searched. 6 computers, 2 safes, and client files were seized, including representatives from Canada and France. One document left open on a screen read, "Consignment 3148B, pending transfer." In total, 832 people were rescued, including 427 children, over 90 of whom were under 10 years old, 320 women, at least 21 pregnant, 85 men, most forced to work in mines in eastern Burkina Faso and along the Mali border. A medical officer reported, "Some victims were moved across 4 countries. They haven't seen sunlight in weeks." But the most shocking discovery didn't come from the sites themselves, but from the list of individuals involved. Among those arrested were 2 senior officers from Burkina Faso's intelligence agency, a former deputy minister of commerce, a security advisor who once accompanied President Alassane Ouattara of Côte d'Ivoire to a United Nations speech. One of the prisoners was filmed by national television while trying to cover his face. But the camera captured his entire face. The nation recognized him immediately. A man who once spoke about human rights, now handcuffed for human trafficking. The question began spreading across social media. How much of the system knew and chose to remain silent? How many official signatures helped legitimize an inhumane network? And most importantly, can a nation heal when those in power were once complicit? On the afternoon of the second day, news outlets in Washington began reporting, "Burkina Faso dismantles the largest human trafficking network of the decade." In a closed Senate hearing, a State Department aide stated, "We are monitoring closely. If any UAD citizens or companies are involved, there will be consequences. But the question remains, did they truly not know, or did they choose to look away?" Major media outlets like BBC, France 24, and Al Jazeera began reporting from Ouagadougou. But it wasn't until Interpol confirmed, data from the drives involves more than 15 countries, including security and logistics companies in Europe and North America, that the world began to grasp the true scale. At the United Nations headquarters, delegations from Ghana and Senegal simultaneously demanded an emergency session. Nigeria proposed establishing a special African court to prosecute transnational crimes across the Sahel region. In Dakar, Senegal, thousands of people protested in front of the European Union office, holding banners that read, "No more blood in exchange for stability. No aid is worth more than dignity." Ghana's national television broadcast Traoré's statement, "This is not a fight against crime. This is a fight for dignity." And then, when the photo of him standing among the rescued children circulated from Accra to Atlanta, from Nairobi to New York, the question arose, why did the world only begin to listen when a young African president took action? Could this be the beginning of a new wave, where Africa no longer waits for justice from outside, but builds its own courts? On that same day, UNICEF's regional representative for West Africa, Florence Baingana, issued an official statement. "We are shocked by the scale of this operation. UNICEF has previously received some missing children reports from the Sahel region, but we have never had such clear evidence as this time. Many of the children rescued were already listed in our internal alert system." She also confirmed that UNICEF is sending psychologists, pediatricians, and international identification specialists to Ouagadougou to provide medical care, reconnect children with their families, and initiate international legal procedures for child protection. The statement concluded with a call to action. "We urge all involved countries, including those outside Africa, to assist in investigations and extradite perpetrators. No child is born to be imprisoned in a container." UNICEF also issued urgent recommendations for countries in the region: strengthen birth registration controls, expand alert systems at border checkpoints, and support community-based child protection programs, especially in high-risk border areas. As sunlight hit the last container, the children stepped out. Some looked bewildered, some kept their heads down. A few clutched the hands of unfamiliar soldiers, trembling but trusting. Captain Ibrahim Traoré stood behind them. He said nothing. He did not smile. He did not declare victory. Later, he addressed the international press. No notes, no teleprompter. Just a clear, firm voice. "No one, no minister, no merchant, no sponsor has the right to sell a human life. Not here, not anywhere." Beside him, the children were wrapped in blankets for warmth. Some held stuffed animals. Some remained silent. A final question from a Western journalist. "Captain, what is the next step?" He answered decisively, "We will pursue every last one, every buyer, every signer, every bystander." That evening, the African Union officially endorsed the arrests. The president of Ghana proposed a conference on human trafficking within 30 days. Senegal called for investigations into the financial companies involved, and in Burkina Faso, the entire nation entered a moral audit. But we must ask, if this operation had failed, who would remember the victims' names? If the drives had not been copied, if the little girl had not reached out at the right moment, would the truth ever have been known? And most importantly, when the story ends, what will remain? Once again, this is not just the story of Ibrahim Traoré, not just the story of Burkina Faso. It is a declaration from an entire continent. We will no longer remain silent. Now it is our turn. Those listening, watching, reading these words, do you still believe in human dignity? Do you still remember what your ancestors endured? If you do, remember this. Type 2 simple words, Africa Fulse. Let those words flood the comments like a river that has long been restrained, but now finds its way back. And if you still believe in justice, do not stay silent. Share this story with your family, church, friends, and community. And don't forget to subscribe for the latest news about Africa and Ibrahim Traoré.